Hey guys, welcome to BP The Bible Perspective. Race, racism, and Jesus. Is Jesus racist? Well, I want to have an honest talk about racism in the Church of Jesus Christ. Before I get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP The Bible Perspective. And if you have a thought, a comment, and I hope you do, add it to the comment section. All comments are welcome. Now, as I said, I want to have an honest discussion about this subject of race. And the reason why I say honest discussion is because I find that people are not willing to have honest talk. Now, they're willing to talk about race in some cases. They're willing to voice their opinion and voice their views, but they're not willing to be open about scrutinizing those views. And that's both black and white. And oftentimes when we get into these kind of discussions, one side usually gets lambasted more than the other, to the point that now there have been some resentment, especially from white people. They say they're tired of being called racist. But is the criticism valid? And as I stated in a kind of a previous video, I want to again just have an honest talk. In order to have an honest talk, you have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to look at reality. You know, one of the things about especially when it comes to race, I find that a lot of people who have views don't have them based upon reality. Now, what do we mean by that? In other words, their minds have been conditioned. And the mind is a fascinating tool, mechanism. You can shape it almost any way you want. You could look at race, you can look at reality, or you can look at your life or through your lens. And it doesn't ever have to be based upon reality. Let me give you an example. Today, you have people who say race is no big deal. Let me just say this. The majority of people who unfriend me, block me, and whatever it is you can do to erase people out of your Facebook or social media existence, they have done that. And you know the two main reasons why and from who? Well, the who is usually white people, white Christians, but white people. And then secondly, it's over the issue of either Trump, in my opinion of Trump, and or race. Now, the race becomes a very interesting thing because, of course, Trump plays a part in that. And we'll get to that later. But the idea of race, because you have people who get triggered by certain posts or statements that I would make. They get triggered by certain news stories. A while back, the former Fox News superstar Bill O'Reilly got so triggered by the Michael Brown shooting that he came off of vacation and began to report. Now, his point was to show a white point of view. Now, Fox News, of course, has long been the white point of view. I used to be a Fox News fan because I thought they stood for values, they stood for truth. And one of the things is that I began to notice even before the one exciting event that really showed the true colors, but when it became incidents, again, like the Michael Brown incident, like Trayvon Martin, things like that, when these police shootings, that they would, the way they would cover it, the way they would talk about race. And then, of course, there was the election of Obama, and that was like, oh, it's like, man, they really, and I mean, and a person like Bill O'Reilly really came out and showed his, in my opinion, true colors. Okay, Sean Hannity, and so the point is that Fox News and other conservative medias, the way they would talk about race, and again, they were able to condition the minds of their listeners, their viewers. There's no race problem. It's the blacks. The blacks are the problem. Now, here are the reality check. So let's do this as we move on with this. What is the reality check to that? If there's no racism, when did it stop? That's my question, right? When did racism stop among whites? If I show you a picture, 1955, of an angry white mob screaming at a young girl who was trying to go to school. I believe she was 8 years old at the time. Or was she younger? And she had to be escorted by military people because an angry white mob, not clans, but moms, uncles, aunts, children, yelling at this little girl. My point is, when did the racism stop? When did it stop? When did it stop? When is, and all of it, and then of course, here's the beauty of a Fox News, that they're able to shape the mind and go, see, it's the black people that's racism. You know how many times I get called racist? Yet, wait a minute, how do you feel? What's the reality that you would call me racist when you know how you feel about racism? So here's my point, y'all. To have this discussion, you have to be a person that's willing to accept truth, facts, and reality. In the 50s, do you know, during the height of Jim Crow, in the 50s, that whites said there was no race problem? They said the very same thing that Fox News has been peddling, or other conservative news media. There's no race problem. So Fox News viewers, some of them, of course, when they see an unarmed black man being shot by the police, in their minds, you see, they're conditioned to go, what's the problem with that? What's the problem with that picture right there? Like I say, Bill O'Reilly came out of his vacation to cover the Michael Brown. I mean, he was like, no, we can't have this. And he was there to defend and to give a white point of view. So now we come to the Church of Jesus Christ. Is the Church of Jesus Christ racist? Is Jesus racist? This is 2020. Do you know that there are people today that still believe in the curse of Ham? And the curse of Ham goes something like this, that God cursed, because Ham, this account is found in Genesis chapter 9. And the story is that after the flood, Noah, who loved the vine, meaning he grew grapes, and as a result of grapes you make wine, and he loved the vine, and he would get just drunk. He would get so drunk that he would pass out. Okay? Now the story goes that Ham looked and saw his father. I guess he was drunk in one of his drunken stupors, laying naked. And as the story goes, Ham saw his father's nakedness and went and told his brothers. His brothers then went in backwards, put on a cover, went in backwards and covered their father. When Noah woke up, he cursed Ham, as the story goes. He cursed Ham and said that Ham would have dark skin and be a slave. Now, I sell it, but that's how the story has been translated to a lot of people. That's not the story, however. You can debate what actually happened, to Ham. What did he do? Ham looking at his father's nakedness when Noah woke up, realizing what he had done. He cursed a descendant of Ham, Canaan, and said, To Canaan, he would be a servant to his brothers. Now, by the way, nowhere did dark skin come in. But a lot of people think because Canaan, if you look at the descendants of Ham, and all they descended and migrated to the African nations. And that's where people get that. But even a more sinister application has arrived. And that is, it was in the Americas to justify enslaving Africans. So from a spiritual root standpoint, you have things like that was taught in the Church of Jesus Christ. See, remember I asked the question, when did racism stop? Well, what you have is people don't want to talk about it. You have people saying this, one of the worst things to be called is a racist. No, that's not the worst thing to be called as a racist. You know what's worse? The worst is to be a racist. You know why? Because people who I'm called a racist, and I can give a flip about what you think of calling me that. You know why? I haven't lynched anyone. I haven't murdered anyone. I haven't enslaved anyone. I haven't practiced segregation. You see, that's what racists do. So it's worse being a racist. So the idea is that now, how did this come about? How did racism rear? How could it be in the Church of Jesus Christ? Another argument is that people say, well, racism was so long ago, it was ancient history. Now, when you hear people say that, you know, that is again revealing how dishonest they are. Slavery ended 150 years ago. My grandmother, I'm 60 years old. My grandmother, who was born in 1900, it was just a generation from that slavery when it ended. Put it like this. My grandmother's grandmother was in the time of slavery. So when people say it's so ancient history, that's a deflection. I heard people something like Ben Shapiro and other people say 200 years ago. These people are educated and they know they're perpetuating a lie. One of the things about the reaction to Black Lives Matter, right? When the Black Lives Matter movement, they didn't examine what was the issue of Black Lives Matter. They started slandering it. Well, you're saying the Black Lives Matter more. Now again, when you hear that kind of argument, that shows how dishonest they are, which means they're not about truth. Remember I said, can we have an honest discussion on race? In other words, if you're going to say that the Black Lives Matter people said that Black Lives Matter, like Tommy Malone did and other commentators, can you produce one statement when they said that Black Lives Matter more? Or for that matter, they countered with the all lives matter. Well, keep in mind, white lives have always mattered in this country. They matter even now. But in order to have this conversation, again, we have to be willing to be honest. And for that, we're going to go back. We're going to go back, see, to where it began. See, how can a Christian look at his dark-skinned brethren and say, we need to be separated? Now, see, this is some reality. How is it that the Southern Baptists, the nation's largest Protestant denomination today, practice such vile racism? Its very origin. Okay? It started because of racism. How is that? How in the world could that be? As a very conservative, how about the Bob Jones University? They're famous because they're always in the news. When they made their stand against the government, we will not accept black people. Race, racism, and Jesus. Again, I'm going to continue with this in the next video. I want to talk about this, and we're going to have an honest talk. Again, don't forget to add your comment if you have one. I welcome them all. Let's have an honest discussion. And please don't forget to like and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to BP, The Bible Perspective. Till next time, I'll see you then.